Hi, my name is Joanna Reisman, and today I'm going to be sharing with you the Beatles song In My Life. A little bit about the Beatles. The Beatles were an English rock band that formed in Liverpool in 1960. They were commonly referred to as the Fab Four, and the members of the Fab Four were John Lennon, Paul McCartney, George Harrison, and Ringo Starr. They were widely regarded as the greatest and most influential act of the rock era. It's hard to find a band that hasn't in some way been influenced by the Beatles. Eventually, they did break up in 1970. The Beatles were highly influenced by Chuck Berry, who you can see in the top left corner, Buddy Holly in the top right, Elvis Presley in the bottom left, and the Everly Brothers in the bottom right. The song In My Life was co-written by John Lennon and Paul McCartney. If you know anything about the Beatles, you know that these two are responsible for writing most of the Beatles selections. The percentages next to each name shows how much of the song they are credited with. So John Lennon is responsible for 60% of the song and Paul McCartney 40% of the song. In My Life was recorded on October 18th and 22nd, 1965 at Abbey Road Studios located in London, England in the studio number 2. It was mixed on October 25th and 26th, 1965 and only took 3 takes. It runs for a total of 2 minutes and 22 seconds and can be found on the album Rubber Soul. History of In My Life. During a 1964 interview with John Lennon, the journalist Kenneth Allison asked why he hadn't written more lyrics about his life and experiences. John responded with, "I had a sort of professional songwriter's attitude to writing pop songs. I would write books like In His Own Right to express my personal emotions. I'd have a separate songwriting John Lennon who wrote songs for the meat market. I didn't consider them to have any depth at all. They were just a joke." So this is John's reaction to his previous songwriting. He states that before he wrote In My Life, he was mostly just, writing songs that were silly to him or more of the Buddy Holly pop approach rather than what comes later in his works. After this interview, Lennon decided he was going to write a poem about the people and places from his past. However, when he later read the poem, he thought it was the most boring thing he'd ever written. It's funny because in another quote from the Rolling Stones magazine, he talks about how when he wrote this poem, it ended up sounding like a "What I Did on My Holidays" song, and it really wasn't what he wanted. He didn't like it at all. But then he reflected back and thought about what he was doing again, and the lyrics just started to come. There is a big songwriting dispute between John Lennon and Paul McCartney over In My Life. It is one of the only songs where they strongly disagree over who wrote what. John Lennon claimed that he wrote all the lyrics before Paul even heard it. He claimed that Paul only added the harmony in the middle 8. According to Paul, though, Lennon basically had the first verse done and the two rewrote the lyrics together. McCartney also claims that he wrote the melody as well as the opening guitar hook that is very popular and famous, and you can recognize the song just by hearing this opening guitar hook. The importance of In My Life. In My Life was a crucial breakthrough for John Lennon. It represented his evolution as an artist. Like I said before, he was writing songs that were simpler and sweeter and maybe sillier and more of a joke to him. And this is really the point in his life where he started to write music that reflected himself. And as you can see in this quote, it says, "I started being me about the songs, not writing them objectively, but subjectively." The instrumentation for In My Life has John Lennon singing lead vocals and playing the rhythm guitar. Paul McCartney is harmony vocals and bass guitar. George Harrison is harmony vocals, lead, and rhythm guitar. Ringo Starr on drums and tambourine, and George Martin on the piano. The opening hook starts right off at the very beginning of the song up to the 8-second mark. This opening guitar hook is played and then repeated before the beginning of the A section. It starts with an A major, moves to E7, and then that is repeated. The phrase is a total of 4 measures long. Let's listen to this opening hook. So the opening hook leads us into the A section, which is from the 9-second mark to the 27-second mark. The A section is made up of two smaller phrases, which are each 4 measures in length. We will call them A1 and A2. The entire overarching A section, however, is 8 measures long. The instrumentation is like we saw in the previous slide, with there being guitar, drums, bass, vocals, and vocal harmonies. The A section begins with an A major chord, shifts to F sharp minor, then A7, D to D minor, and back to A major. The chord progression is then repeated for the A2 phrase. Let's take a listen.
There are places I remember all my life, though some have changed.
The chord progression is repeated now.
Forever, not for better. Some have gone and some remain.
The lyrics of the A section are, "There are places I'll remember all my life, though some have changed. Some forever, not for better. Some have gone and some remain." I've highlighted the rhyme scheme. You'll see that remember and better create a slant rhyme as well as changed and remain. This is the opening vocals to the song, and we're already allowing John Lennon to take us back into his past and hear him reflect upon these places and these people and these memories that he's had. Then we go into the B section, which is from the timestamp 28 seconds to 46 seconds, and this is 8 measures total. Just like the A section, the B section is made up of 2 shorter sections of 4 measures. We'll call them B1 and B2. B1 starts with an F sharp minor, leads into D major, then to G major, and back to A major. The B2 phrase starts with an F sharp minor chord, leads into B7 to D minor, and then back to A major. This is when we have the tambourine that starts to play the steady beat and then leads back into the main rhythm. So let's listen to the B section.
All these places had their moments with lovers and friends. I still can recall. Some are dead and some are living. In my life, I've loved them all.
The B section lyrics state, "All these places have their moments, with lovers and friends I still can recall. Some are dead and some are living, in my life I've loved them all." So we have our recall and all that are a rhyme scheme in the B section. Now, Paul is responsible for writing the lyrics, "Some are dead and some are living," and he writes this for one of the original Beatles members, Stu Sutcliffe, who is actually the original bass player. Then we hear the hook again from 47 to 50 seconds. Then we go back to the A section from second 51 to a minute 09. The A section is repeated with the same chord progression, same instrumentation, but different lyrics. The lyrics we have in the A section returned are, "But of all these friends and lovers, there is no one compares with you, and these memories lose their meaning when I think of love as something new." And our rhyme here is between you and new. And once again, we're taken back into these memories of these friends and these lovers and how important and special they are. Then we have a return of the B section. This is a minute 10 to a minute 29. It's repeated with the same chord progression as the previous B section, same instrumentation but different lyrics. These lyrics say, "Though I know I'll never lose affection for people and things that went before, I know I'll often stop and think about them. In my life, I love you more." We have the rhyme between affection, them, before, and more. And this is kind of the finality of the lyrics of the song. Then we have the A section repeat 1 minute and 29 to 1:47. And unlike the previous A sections, this one is a solo performed by George Martin. After experimenting on the Hammond organ, Martin recorded a very Baroque piece on the piano at half speed, 1 octave down, and then sped it up to match the track. The effect is like that of a harpsichord, and most people confuse it for one. It actually follows the same chord progression as the other A sections, which is probably why we wouldn't call it a bridge. Then that takes us straight into the return of another B section from 1 minute and 48 seconds to 2 minutes and 5 seconds. The B section comes back one last time with the same chord progression as the other B sections, with the same instrumentation, and then a repeat of the same lyrics as the last B section. And these lyrics just once again stress the importance of how we'll never lose affection for these people and things that went before, and that they'll always remember them and they'll always stop and think about them. And in my life, I love you more is the last final point made. Then we hear the hook again from 2 minutes and 5 seconds to 2 minutes and 10 seconds. And then the song ends with a short tag that is from 2 minutes and 11 seconds to 2 minutes and 22 seconds. It states again, "In my life, I love you more." "In my life" is sung up the octave and then is brought back down for "I love you more" to create an unpredictable and very expressive effect. And the song concludes on an A major chord.
In my life, I love you more.
The performance style is very simple and sweet. There's really little to no ornamentation. The solo section is the only time you really hear this ornamentation. In My Life is a genuine and heartfelt reflection on the people and places that were once known, and the way that it is performed matches this sentiment. So overall, the whole form is we have the hook, A section, B section, the hook comes back again, A, B, solo A section, B, hook, and then our concluding tag. Here you can find the link to the Beatles' In My Life. You can find it on YouTube, and that's pretty much it. The reason that I chose the song was just so we can see how important it is to have John Lennon's crucial moment in the Beatles' history where things really started to change for their songwriting and for the music that they began to make. Thank you.